Hello, my name is Brayden Holbrook, and today I will be discussing the importance of music throughout life. Everyone is impacted by music in some form, whether that's through hard rock, or even smooth jazz. Music has many different shapes, sounds, and even educational values. Music, according to an article written by Solomon Academia, states, the researchers have found that music listening recruits not only the auditory areas of the brain, but also employs large-scale neural networks. For instance, they discovered that the processing of musical pulse recruits motor areas of the brain, supporting the idea that music and movement are closely intertwined. Music and music education are extremely important in activating young minds and creating an atmosphere of creativity throughout all different stages of life. Today I will be discussing why music and music education are so important throughout all different stages of life. My first point will be about pre-birth and toddlers and why it is so important that we keep music in their lives and how it increases brain activity and cognitive learning. Next, I will be discussing adolescents and teens and why we should keep music in our children's education. Lastly, I'll be discussing adults and elderly and why it is so important that we keep our ears young and our brains active as we get older through music. Infants and toddlers. Many people wonder how they can get their children to start kicking and moving around. This is mainly for young parents. One useful way is through music, whether that's through listening through headphones or even a speaker. Young babies and infants can start listening through their mother's belly even before birth. A quote from, according to an article written by HealthlineParenthood.com, the researchers noticed that the babies who heard a song repeatedly while in the womb seemed to calm when they heard the same song after they were born. This creates familiarity with the baby. It is extremely important that we start teaching our kids how to listen to music. This helps create better recognition and memorization, and helps further the language along the way. As stated in the 2015 program report for early parent support, infants recognize the melody of a song long before they understand the words. They often try to mimic the sounds and start moving as soon as they are physically able. Even having your kids start banging on pots and pans is useful. It's so important that we help give these kids the recognition to help develop their language and sense of movement along the way. Another quote from this article, the 2015 program report, states, toddlers love to dance and move to music. Okay, let me get this up here. Toddlers love to dance and move to music. The key to toddler music is the repetition of songs, which encourages use of words and memorization that let them reproduce rhythms or even clapping or moving around objects. Music is important throughout any stage of life, but especially in the early ages, developing their sense of language and motor development is so important. And that's why we start teaching it in our schools at such a young age. From preschool to high school, this is when we start developing music even further. The educational benefits of music are pretty far up. It helps people who are involved with music and musical activities in high school typically get better scores on tests. According to an article called The Window of Opportunity by Helmrich, students who take music in middle school score significantly higher in algebra assignments in 9th grade rather than their non-musical counterparts. Music programs also help keep students in school and also help graduation rates. Another quote, a quote from the National Association of Music Education says, schools with music programs have an estimated 90.2% of graduation rates and a 93.9% attendance rate. compared to schools without music programs, which average 72.9 graduation rates and 84.9 attendance rates. This is from an article called Music Makes the Grade. Another thing that helps with music is social interaction. Social interaction is a huge part of most kids' days from elementary school, middle school, and high school. What better way than through music and a mutual love for music? This can be in choir, band, orchestra, or even if you start your own a cappella group. Teens use music as their social glue, as a bridge for building acceptance and tolerance for people of different ages and cultural backgrounds. This is from a presentation to the U.S. Congress in 2007. Me personally, music has been such a huge impact on my life. I started choir in 4th grade, and that helps me get to meet different kids that I wouldn't have met in my regular elementary school. That furthered up into middle school and high school. High school had such a huge impact on me, and that's really when I decided to be a music educator. From what I saw from my teachers, they were so useful in helping us all feel welcome and telling all of us to interact with each other. Different economic and social groups. We had people that were in sports, we had people that were in academics, and then it was just a whole bunch of people, like a big melting pot of different social and economic backgrounds. That was really interesting to get to meet all of those people, and deeply important in me, because that's the reason I want to be a teacher. It's just really important to keep music throughout your life. And even as you get older, music has a completely different meaning. Adults and elderly. Music, no matter what age you are, has a huge impact on you. I'm sure most of you can remember the song that you danced to at your prom, or even ones that you danced to on your wedding night. A quote states from Frederick Timms. He's the principal investigator for the Music Making and Wellness Research Project and the professor and chair of musical therapy at Michigan State University. We feel strongly that the abundant health benefits can be achieved by older adults learning to make music in a supportive, social, and enjoyable setting. We are just beginning to understand the positive effects music is making on our bodies and our physical health. A quote, that's the same quote. Many of the health benefits are extremely reasonable to look at when you look at them. Most people with Alzheimer's have better recognition when they're listening to music from their past. It makes people feel young again. I'm sure you've heard many of your parents dancing and rapping to music from the 80s and 90s. Or even going into a nursing home and hearing old people tap their toes to Louis Armstrong. Music keeps our ears young. Oh no. Okay. Music keeps our ears young. Older musicians don't experience typical aging in the part of their brain, their auditory cortex, that often leads to hearing troubles. It's never too late to start taking up piano lessons to prevent age-related changes. This is from an article from record.com by Michael Rosen. Music, no matter what age you are, is extremely important in helping keeping your brain active. It's so important that we continue to keep music in our education, whether that's through listening to something or even learning how to play a different instrument. Here's that quote. In conclusion, today we learned about why music and music education is so important. I talked about pre-birth and toddlers and how music is important in increasing children's brain development and cognitive learning. I talked about how music is important in teens and adolescents in their education and how it helps increase grade point averages and helps increase attendance and graduation rates. And finally, I talked about the elderly and adults and how it helps benefit and keep our ears young. And we always need to keep learning. That's the important part. My thesis again is music and music education are extremely important and help building our active minds in our young children and creating an atmosphere of creativity no matter what age you are. In this speech, I discussed the importance of music and music education throughout all different stages of life. Lastly, I want you guys to remember that music is important. If you value it, teach it to your young, and remember to keep it in our schools and our education. Thank you.